The sun filtered through the canopy of maple and pine as Nolan Graves strolled beside his father along a quiet public trail that wound behind their neighborhood. His father, Leonard Graves, walked with a careful gait, nursing a paper cup of lukewarm gas station coffee as though it were something sacred. They had done this walk 100 times, and that morning was supposed to be no different until Nolan heard a sound he would never forget. A sharp pop split the air, followed by a high-pitched electric crack. Leonard dropped like he'd been yanked out of reality. The cup flew, his body stiffened, and he slammed onto the gravel with a sickening thud. "Stay on the ground," a voice barked from behind them. Nolan spun, adrenaline crashing through his system. At first, he expected an Animala bear maybe. But what stood behind them was worse. A man in cargo gear, bald head gleaming beneath wraparound reflective sunglasses that made it impossible to see his eyes. His badge looked homemade, swinging on a nylon cord and reading, HOA Compliance Unit. It was absurd, but Leonard wasn't moving. "You're trespassing," the man barked. "Private HOA land. Section 14D. Certified residents only." Nolan's heart slammed against his ribs. "We are residents. 3 blocks from here." His father's eyes fluttered. His lips moved, but no sound came. And then Nolan saw the edge of silver beneath Leonard's shirt collar. A pacemaker. Panic clawed through him. "No, no, no. Dad!" He slapped his father's cheek gently. "Come on. Please." "Nothing. You just tossed a senior citizen with a pacemaker," Nolan snapped. The man holstered the stun gun like he'd just swatted a bug. He failed to comply. He didn't even say a word to you. Level 2 compliance breach. Boundary crossed. "What the hell are you talking about?" Nolan scanned the trail. No hikers. No runners. No weaknesses. Just him, a man dying, and a lunatic with a weapon. His fingers fumbled for the phone. Leonard's old flip phone. He'd warned Nolan only to use the green button if someone was bleeding or dead. Well, they were getting damn close to both. He pressed it. "Emergency dispatch," came the voice. "Location. Maple Creek Trail," Nolan stammered. Back in trance. "Elder Pine Loop. 68-year-old man. Cardiac device. Tossed. Not breathing." More questions. Nolan answered as best he could. Then he heard crunching gravel. A man was approaching. "Step back," Nolan growled, placing himself between his father and the lunatic. "I'm permitted to secure the perimeter," the man said calmly. "You touch me, and I swear to God." Leonard wheezed. Just a whisper of breath, then a flutter of his eyelids. His mouth curled not in pain, but in something far more unsettling. A smirk. Then he passed out cold. Sirens wailed in the distance. Nolan didn't say another word. He just looked up, there she was. A woman in a lavender tracksuit, standing at the ridge. Phone raised. Smiling. She didn't say a thing. Just recorded. The ambulance screeched in. Paramedics swarmed. "He's got a pacemaker and responsive," one shouted. Defibrillator pads slapped down. Nolan stepped back, dizzy, hollow. This wasn't a mistake. It was a trap. But not for Leonard. Leonard had said it. Because that smirk wasn't fear. It was strategy. 3 hours later, in a hospital room dimmed against the late afternoon sun, Leonard opened his eyes and said, "What took you so long?" Nolan didn't know whether to laugh or throw a chair. "You flatlined," he said. "Only briefly," Leonard muttered. "You hit the green button?" "Yeah." "The black phone, too." Leonard's eyes sharpened. "Which line?" 3. Backup phrase, Fisherman's Cove. He nodded. "Good." That was when Nolan realized he hadn't just called for help. He had activated a protocol. Leonard Graves wasn't just his father. He was a retired FBI field ops legend. And this, whatever this was, had been building for a long, long time. Nolan sat beside him, staring at a man who had trained him like an agent, not a son. He remembered drills disguised as games. Lessons in subtext during commercials. Silent glances that meant run. Or stand your ground. But no one trained him for this. Watching the man who raised him almost die. "You want to tell me what the hell that was?" Nolan asked. Leonard didn't respond. So Nolan kept talking. "Guy who tossed you?" "Name tag," said Bradley. "Karen from the HOA filmed the whole thing. You dropped." I called emergency. Leonard blinked. You remember the fallback phrase? You said it once when I was 10. And you remembered? Nolan didn't reply. Leonard closed his eyes. There's a file in the bottom drawer at home. Open it. Nolan did. Inside, one manila folder. Labeled, Contingency Plan A. Inside, a single page. His name, and a note. If you're reading this, you passed. Later that evening, Leonard checked himself out of the hospital against medical advice. Nolan argued, but he might as well have been debating a brick wall. The old man moved slow, but he moved. Back home, they were greeted by a knock. 3 light taps. Karen. Clipboard. Khakis. A smile that didn't reach her eyes. I heard about the little incident, she said sweetly. Thought I'd stop by. Maybe go over a few updated guidelines. Nolan said nothing. We understand older residents sometimes struggle with the newer parts of the charter. The trail's under private HOA jurisdiction now. There was no vote, Nolan said. Oh, there was. Just not well attended. Flyers went out. To who? Your knitting circle. Karen's eye twitched. She handed him a paper. As of this morning, your father is under temporary compliance monitoring. That's not real. It's in the bylaws. Which section? She smiled. The one you'll never find. Then she added, like tossing gasoline on dry leaves. And that shed out back? You want to take that down. Not up to code. Technically never was. She walked away humming. Nolan stood in silence until Leonard pushed a folder across the table. Labeled, HOA Tiered Threat Levels. 5 tabs. Color-coded. Bradley, Level 2. Karen, Level 3. There was no Level 1. Later that day, Nolan found an unsigned note in the mailbox. Please be careful. She's done this before. The next HOA meeting was in 48 hours. And Nolan was about to take every single rule and use it as a weapon. They baited Bradley with a new shed measure to be just barely out of compliance. A forged permit. Carnet signature. Laminated. Then they waited. Bradley came. Same sunglasses. Same zip ties. Different badge this time. Field Director Enforcement Division. He approached the shed like it owed him money. Nolan stood firm. I live here. Bradley raised a finger. Step away. And you're interfering with a federal investigation, came a voice from behind. Fox. Gray windbreaker. Sunglasses. Calm. You again, Bradley said. Fox stepped closer. We know about the stolen vest. The taser. The assault charges in Denver. The badge isn't real. You're done. Nolan stepped forward. You're on video. Audio. Documented. Red lights blinked across the property cameras hidden in gutters, trees, fence posts. Leonard stepped off the porch. This man, he said calmly, has impersonated law enforcement and committed armed intimidation. Neighbors began to appear. Quiet. Watching. Bradley snapped. He lunged toward the hedge. A dog-walking agent swept his legs. Bradley hit the ground, zip ties scattering. I protected this neighborhood, he screamed. Your sheep. Karen and we brought order. You brought fear, Leonard said. That's not the same. As Bradley was cuffed, Karen appeared. Blazer flapping. Rage in her eyes. You can't do this. This is sovereign property. Fox didn't even blink. Do you know what those words mean? Karen lunged for a file. The HOA vice president stepped forward. I move to dissolve the current board, he said. I second, said Mrs. Talbot. Hands rose. One by one. None opposed. It was over. Karen's empire didn't collapse in a blaze. It was dismantled quietly, legally, thoroughly. The next morning, her clipboard sat untouched on her porch. Her name was scrubbed from the HOA database. Bradley pled out. Karen never saw cuffs, but she saw headlines. And Nolan? He didn't join the board. Didn't need to. People knocked. Asked questions. Trusted his word. Because they knew he'd held the line. And the sound of a drone buzzing down the street once a warning was now a reminder. The sky was clear. And this time, fear had no place to hide.